Hi everyone, it's Charles at Empress Mills, and today we are taking a closer look at the Lewis Irene Autumn Fields Reloved collection. If you are followers of Lewis Irene at all, you will know that they are, I was going to say a relatively new fabric company, but they are not anymore. They've been around for I think 10 or 11 years, but made a massive impact when they first arrived on the scene sort of those 10 years ago. And one of their very first collections, I think the first year or definitely the second year, if not, was Autumn Fields. And this is a follow-on that they have produced, which is Autumn Fields Reloved, which has taken all of the main design elements from the original range and they've just made some little tweaks just to bring it up to date and enhance a few little bits and bobs, but it is still an absolutely wonderful range. It was so popular when they first brought it out, so we were pleased when they brought out the reloved version. This is one of the main designs and it has been so popular up to now, and I'm sure you will agree it's not difficult to see why at all. It's got this lovely sort of autumn tonal shades with these fantastic leaf colours as well, and then the berries, which become a little bit of a theme as we go through. And of course, this fantastic little field mouse, which is a recurring character right the way through the collection. But this design in particular, it was a favourite way back when they first brought it out, and I think they've just made a very few tweaks to this one, and it is back again looking absolutely magnificent and full of those autumnal shades. It was always a favourite of mine actually, this when it was first brought out. I really like this range, and I hope you do too. As always with Lewis Irene, or I shouldn't say as always, but most of the time with Lewis Irene, there are 15 prints in the collection, which there are in this, and that is made up of 5 main designs in 3 different colourways, and this is the second colourway in this fantastic main Autumn Fields print, which features this lovely sort of natural green shade, which really makes those autumnal shades on the leaves in particular work really well with that background green, and you really start to pick up the colour of the berries here, which, don't get me wrong, worked really well. Hope we'll be able to make this so we can see it really well. The berries did work well with that sort of more purple, almost a bilberry style background, but it did work well with those colours. But when you've got that slightly lighter shade that you have with the green and the cream that's coming in just a second, whoops, then those berries really do just pop that little bit more. And again, the little mouse on there. And so let me get the cream design for you, where the colours in particular do just burst because of that background shade there. And it's not bright white, it is just sort of an off-white, a nice sort of natural, very light cream style colour in the background there, with all of those autumnal shades on top. I am still a massive fan of the first one, that sort of darker background one. I just think it captures sort of the autumn feel perfectly, but these slightly lighter coloured backgrounds are very nice indeed. You can really make them see. The next 3 we've got here are part of the blenders, sort of the more general sort of designs that are in the collection. And as you can see, it's a lovely all over print, lots of rotation, so there is no real direction to the design. You can use it any which way you like, and it's again picking up those sort of strong autumn colours, is this one in particular, but just makes for a fantastic all over mixed blender style print in that one. And it also comes in this lovely red, comes in that red shade, and that's picking up sort of more of a natural background against those berries on this one. And then also a lighter, what did Lewis Irene actually call this shade? They've just called it purple berries, and I think it does it in injustice because it's sort of a light purple against that sort of darker wine version of that gorgeous blender design. But to me, again, I think it's just because I'm loving those strong colours personally. I mean, it's obviously personal preference, of course. You can see in that those really strong colours coming through, but there is that as well. The one extra thing to say about this one is with that background colour, and again you pick it up in the red, that background shade does just pick up quite nicely with some of the other lighter designs, so it is quite a nice theme that just ties some of the other prints together, which goes back to how the designers work. I would never be able to work that out. I don't know about you, but it absolutely blows me away the way different designs tie together. Right, let me move on to this one, which is a favourite of some of the ladies here at Empress. It's this field mouse tucked away in this little bale of hay. Did they call it a bale of hay just so I'm not getting in trouble? Harvest nest, should I say? Look at that. I'll be in trouble for that one. In this little harvest nest. And the little tweak from the original design in this is that they've added the field mouse playing in the nest, and it's got two little ones as well, and these little ones are having a little nibble on some of those berries. So we're seeing again that berry theme tying right the way through, and it's just where the re-loved element, the way Lewis and Irene designers have gone back to these ranges and just found other little tweaks to make from the original collection really start to shine through. And this is it on a slightly more natural version, just so we can see that there. And then also, on this shade, which is an unusual shade, what have they called it? They've called it Field Nest Grey, and it does have a very sort of grey style feel to it. It isn't a colour that I would have picked, to be honest, to go with the range, but as always, it blows me away. It does absolutely work with some of the other designs in the collection. Just looking at what we've got coming up and some of the others thinking about it, it does work really, really well. So if it is a slightly more muted palette that you're working on, this would just be perfect. And again, you've got that tiny, tiny little pop of fun colour with the field mouse feeding its little baby there with a couple of cheeky berries. Yes, indeed. So that's those two. And I should mention, I know I'm mentioning lots of these videos, these fabrics, Lewis and Irene, in fact, across all of their range, or certainly 99% of them, create the fabrics with quilting in mind, but they are perfect for so many other uses. Cushions in particular are always a massive favourite with Lewis and Irene's 100% cottons, but it works perfectly for dressmaking. It is all Oecotec certified, for example, lovely and soft to the touch, so perfect for dressmaking, whether you're making for grown-ups or little ones, it would be absolutely fine. So you know, you can span across many uses with these prints, with these fabrics, should I say. So the next print, without further ado, me wittering on there, we've got this one, which, what have they called it, then I get the names correct? Just seeds. So this is a nice, again, just going back to the berries, a nice blender range, a nice blender print, and we've got this lovely seeds colour in this gorgeous, nice, natural background. And again, I hope this comes across on the camera, that isn't a pure white background by any stretch. It's this sort of almost very light cream, natural. This is actually picking up on that sort of grey that we saw a minute ago, that sort of tonal just coming through to stop it from being a harsh optic white. And by chance, you can also see the other design that I mentioned that with underneath. That background on there works very well with that on there. Just, they don't design these things to match exactly. That's part of the thing that Lewis and Irene are always stressing. You know, they want the designs to tone together but not become monotonous, so there are just little tweaks, but you can see where they're coming from with those sort of quite light but natural shades coming through there. So yes, there is seeds in that natural shade, in this lovely green, in that green colour there, and then also in a darker natural sort of colour here, which is actually heading towards the end of the bowl, but don't worry, we've got more on the way of all of these, so don't worry. If you're watching this video just as we've created it, then we've got plenty coming. So yes, there's that nice natural colour there as well, which I hope you like. All of the blenders, do you know what, it's one of those, when we started doing the videos, I was torn just how much detail to go into when we talked about the blenders. But I'm very grateful for the feedback we've received, and a lot of people mentioned it is useful because people obviously cross over with the blenders into other ranges so much. So I really hope I'm not boring anybody. I hope it's useful. Please keep the feedback coming on these things. The last three designs, a favourite of Mum's now. We've saved the best till last, some would argue, although I preferred the first one, but Mum always liked this print. And it is the field mouse on a little bit of barley. I think it's barley before I put my foot in it and get in trouble. Yes, it is. Barley, Barley mice it is, there we go. And it's that lovely little mouse, the little friend we've seen all the way through, just being a little bit cheeky in the harvest there. On that green background, on this sort of natural, now what have they called this colour? Soft earth, which is a really good description for it. This lovely tonal colour here, sort of really earthen and natural. And then also moving back to those lighter colours, we've got it on this one too. Now this is actually the background to this one, is the lightest out of all of them. It isn't white, again still just off, but much brighter than the other options we've seen so far. But I think it just shows the illustration around the mouse in a lovely little detail. In fact, I've just spotted with it, I have to say, the mouse has lovely little whiskers, which hopefully we will get, or we'll do a little zoom in afterwards. So if it looks a little bit strange on this bit of the video, it's because we've come back to do a little bit of a zoom in on the mouse's cheeky little whiskers there. But they're the extra details that I think Lewis and Irene have spent quite a lot of time. They've gone back, the Reloved collections, we've seen a couple of them now. They are always popular, and it's these extra little details that I think presumably the designers either wanted to include the first time or weren't sure, and now they've either built up courage or they've just thought, oh, that'd be a nice little tweak. Things like that are what make the Reloved collections what they are, and you'll see those throughout the range. A quick last mention, we of course have the curated bundles, which are selected and put together specifically by the Lewis and Irene design team, so that's nothing to do with Empress. They're selected and chosen by the actual designers themselves to ensure that they coordinate, but as I mentioned earlier, do not become monotonous. And we also have the 5 bumbleberries, which are Lewis and Irene's dedicated blenders, which they have coloured specifically to work with this collection. So you can be assured that each one of those blender fabrics works perfectly across the range here. As an interesting little point, every bumbleberry shade has 7 shades within the design. So it's just a little extra point that, you know, you're getting all those different hues, 35 hues there. It's absolutely amazing the way the way they make those things work. That is everything, I think. The specifics I should mention: 100% cotton, 44 inches wide, which is 110 centimeters. I mentioned earlier, design with quilting in mind, but perfect for many other projects. You can stitch this fabric with just a standard universal needle or a quilting needle, should you so wish, and it will work absolutely perfectly with either our general purpose thread, if you don't mind using a polyester, or our 50s 100% cotton quilting thread. Stitches these fabrics perfectly. When we get on some more samples from us later, you will see that in action much more, but it works perfectly with the range. Thank you very much indeed for watching as always. If there is any extra information you require, please do get in touch. You can leave a message underneath the video, just leave a comment. You can message us through any of our social media channels, email us through the website, and please don't hesitate, pick the telephone up, chat to me or one of our wonderful Empress team. Thanks for watching, and I really hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.